I stole Scratch games and went viral. Okay, wait, I know that it sounds bad, but I promise it's not what you are thinking. Scratch has this feature known as remixing, and it lets you take any game and add your own twist to it. But there's a problem. Nowadays, most remix projects are just stolen versions of the original projects. These remix projects can get hundreds of thousands of views with absolutely zero effort. So that's why, in this video, over the next 5 days, I'm gonna be remixing famous Scratch games and going viral by getting 100 likes on the new account to prove to the world that stealing isn't the solution. Hello everyone, welcome to day 1. And I have 3 objectives for today. So number 1, I want to set up my account. So that means just getting my username, my profile picture, my about me, and everything like that. The second thing I want to do for today is I want to scout out a game because I actually have no idea what game I'm going to be recreating. And we should also plan out what new features we're going to add to this game. For this challenge, we're not just going to be doing what most remixes do and just stealing projects. No. We are going to be improving the Scratch games that we are making entirely and giving them an entire overhaul. And the third step is actually just coding. Hopefully we will get at least a little bit done. So yeah, and that's all I wanted to say. And now let's just get coding. To start off day 1, I signed out of my main account, Viiperrr, and created a new account that went by the name of Stealish, as I would be basically stealing games over the next 5 days. Aren't I so clever? Okay, never mind. The next thing that I did was create some branding for my account. But what better way to make branding than stealing someone else's? So I looked at the project that was number 1 on trending, and it was created by this guy named Synergy. So I made up my mind to use his branding. The profile picture was soon finished. Although it's not the best thing I've drawn in my life, it will serve the purposes of this account. Now it was time to actually find a game that I would be recreating. I searched around the trending page for a little while. I found projects that were really good and projects that were really bad, until I found a project that would be perfect to remake. It was called Drowning, a platformer. I felt that there was a lot that I could bring to the table. It was just a platformer that placed you underwater, and it had this drowning timer thingy, but I later realized that this thing was actually fake and you never really drown. Oh yeah, and just for the sake of it, I checked to see what the first remix of Drowning, a platformer was, and it was an exact 1-to-1 copy of the original game. I wasn't lying, and this is a real problem on Scratch. Anyways, I remixed the project and started coding. For this game, there were 4 main things that I wanted to add. I first wanted to add in some actual underwater physics, because at the moment, the game was just like a regular platformer. I also wanted to fix the fake drowning timer, add an intro cutscene, and add a boss battle. I knew that this would be quite a bit of work, so I got started working right away. I started by adding in underwater physics. Now, it felt like you were swimming, instead of just walking, because walking underwater just isn't really realistic at all. After some time, I decided to add in some player art, because I didn't just want to have a cube. At this point, it was getting quite late, so I decided to hop off, although I didn't get to finish the player. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, my screen time just ran out, so I don't think I'll be able to work on the project anymore for the rest of the day, which is not very good news. And yes, I am just standing somewhere random in my house right now, but tomorrow is gonna be a big day, and I think that we're gonna be able to do a lot more tomorrow than we were able to do today. Today, we weren't able to do much work. I'm gonna wake up early tomorrow for the big day ahead of us. Okay, bye-bye. But this was just day 1, and over the next 4 days, I was going to steal some wonderfully crafted and some not so wonderfully crafted games and see some results that I would never have expected. But anyways, I wanted to sleep early for the big day ahead of us. Hi everyone, welcome to day 2. So today, what I wanna do really is hopefully just finish the game. I'm basically free almost the entire day, so I do have time to work on this project and hopefully finish the Drowning, a platformer, I think it's called. Yeah, we'll need to come up with a better name, but yeah. Beginning the day, I fixed the player art and finished it. It looks decent, and although I wished I could make it look a lot better, I knew that I didn't have much time, and that there was still a lot of other features that I needed to add to this game. I also added in some animations for the player, and now you look even more like you are swimming. It was a nice little touch. Now, it was time to fix the counter so that you could actually die from drowning. Thankfully, the original number counter scripts worked pretty well, and I just needed to change a few scripts to make them work like I wanted them to. And now, when the timer runs out, you die and restart at the beginning of the game. Now, I knew that it was time to add in the intro cutscene for the game. I thought it would be enough if I just had a wave come over the player and the player just gets sucked underwater. But little did I know, just just how difficult this would prove to be. I was having so much trouble animating the water and making it look fluid. At the end, I came up with something that looked decent, to say the least. It definitely wasn't good, but I was feeling nice and I just let it pass. The next thing that I did was add in some sand art. We can't just have our player looking good and disregard everything else in this game. And I think that this sand art actually looks pretty good, maybe even better than the player. Okay, so I just coded for like 3-4 hours and my brain is completely fried. I'll work on the project later today. It's just that not right now. No, my brain, the condition, no, it's just not there. Yeah, okay. So I think I'm just gonna go play some basketball now. Now, I thought it would be cool to add in some level design, but I got super duper tired and bored of doing this, so I asked my friend Katufa to draw some levels for me, and I would give him $5. He made some really nice things for me, but when I asked for his PayPal, he just ignored me. So I'm not sure if he was just being nice, but if you are seeing this, Katufa, send me your PayPal, bro. At the same time, I also added in some spike art, because some of the levels would require us to have them. They served their purpose, and I even added a blue tint, which I'm pretty proud about, not gonna lie. But it was at this time that I noticed that the drowning counter thingy was really long, and it didn't create a challenge for the player. So instead of 100 seconds, I changed it to 60 seconds. And now, we basically have a speedrunning game. While admiring my work, I realized we didn't even have a name for the game. So I decided to make it sunken, #all, #games, #trending. And yes, these hashtags are completely necessary. Now, we needed to add in a boss battle. I thought it would be cool if the boss could attack you using a fishing hook, and if you touch these hooks, you die. On the other hand, you can damage the boss if you touch the boat. I don't know what touching the boat would really do in a real life situation, but it doesn't matter. In the end, I was really happy with how this came out, and I felt like the boss felt quite fair, until I realized it's not fair at all. The hooks can just come out at random times, and you have no way to tell if they're coming. So I added these exclamation marks that warn the player. This made the boss 100 times better and basically saved our game. But now, I thought it was important that we added in a health indicator for the boss. That way, we would be able to tell how much health the boss had left and how close we were to finishing the game. Since the game already had a built-in number counter engine for the drowning effect, I just reused that to create the boss health. And with just a few finishing touches, including a thumbnail, the game was done. Although I was quite scared and nervous, as it's been over 7 months since I've made a video like this, I shared the project. And this was the first of 3 games that would be reworked, improved, and completely changed. The last game was the craziest of them all, and I could not believe how it turned out. I started promoting the game by adding it to studios and asking people for feedback, until my screen time ran out and I couldn't finish. This was a huge problem, because if you don't know, for a Scratch game to go viral, the first few hours are the most important, and by not being able to promote the game, we were losing out on extremely valuable and precious time. On a different note, today, working on this game got me thinking. Scratch is great for simple games and remixes, but if you ever want to take your ideas further, such as making full indie games, you need something much bigger. Thank you to GameMaker for sponsoring this video. With GameMaker's drag and drop interface, you can easily code whatever you want, and at the same time, you can create some really powerful things. GameMaker has been used to create games such as A Short Hike and Chicory, A Colorful Tale. And the best part is that GameMaker is completely free. They are transparent with their prices, and if you want to create and code your own projects, you don't need to pay anything at all. And while using GameMaker, if you ever have any trouble coding things on your own, there are so many great templates as well as tutorials to pick from. The GameMaker community is honestly awesome, and there are so many resources out there to get started. If all of this sounds cool to you, which it should, then you can try out GameMaker for completely free using the link in my description. And once again, I'd like to say thank you so much, GameMaker, for sponsoring this video. Today, I had a stroke of genius. I decided I would just unshare the game, as it had like 5 views, and just reshare it using a new project ID. This would give our game a new chance. So I just promoted again and asked for feedback from some famous scratchers. Eventually, I actually got a response from Synergy, the guy whose profile picture I had stolen back on day 1. He was actually super nice, and he gave me some encouragement and advice to improve my animations. Spam W Synergy in the comments because this guy is an absolute legend. If you were watching this, Synergy, thank you so much. Guess guess who just got 20 likes on his new Scratch game that he worked very hard on? And his name is Viiperrr. He got 20 likes. Actually, no, his name is Steelish. But yeah, so we got 20 likes, which is very, very good. But we need to do even more work. It's like 4 o'clock right now, so don't have much time. But I think maybe we could make like a tiny little project today. We could just find a simple game that we can recreate and just recreate it. Okay, yeah. Now, I decided that it was about time that we started to work on our second game. So once again, I checked around trending and found this game called Hide and Seek. And you guessed it, it's just a hide and seek game where you click on characters to gain points. This game had a lack of polish, and I actually thought that the concept was pretty good, so I remixed the game. I started by changing up the trees. I think that they look really good now, and it's all thanks to Kotufa, who taught me some of his secret sauce. Now, I also changed up some of the other art for the game. I started with the background, but it was quite useless because in the end, you can barely even see it. I also remade the player's art, and I think that it came out nicely. It looks simple, but it fits pretty well with all the other art. Now, it was time to start coding. To create the random spawning of the player, I created 2 lists, one for the X and one for the Y axis. And I put all the possible positions of the trees in them. Then I made it so that the player randomly teleports to one of these trees and spawns every now and then. I was really proud of the code itself that I had made. It was really neat and optimized, and it just made my inner programmer feel at peace. Just look at how the player teleports and moves so smoothly. I also used a change color by block to make it so that there's a red version of the player. If you click on this red version, you lose, and it resets your progress. I thought this would be a cool thing to add to keep the player on their toes and add another dimension to the gameplay. Now the game was finished, so I created a thumbnail, wrote a description, and shared it. I promoted our game, Behind the Trees, until the day ended. And now that we were more than halfway through the 5 days, I knew that if I actually wanted to go viral, I would need to do some actually insane things to come through in the end. By the way, I have a proposal for you and everyone else watching at home right now. If you didn't know, YouTube shows me how many subscribers you gain from a video, and I decided that for every person who subscribes on this video, I will donate 10 cents to Scratch Team. So for example, if 1,000 people subscribe, I donate $100, and if 10,000 people subscribe, I donate $1,000. This is real, and I'll actually be doing this, so make sure to subscribe right now on all of your accounts and make me go bankrupt. Subscribing is also just a great way to show your support for the channel. On day 4, I started by remixing none other than Getting Over It. This is actually my favorite Scratch game of all time, and I really wanted to do it justice. I wanted to add a story, change up the levels a bit, add NPCs, and checkpoints. This was extremely ambitious and would lead to a lot of stress in the last 2 days of this challenge, although I didn't know it at the time. I started by creating an NPC I could spawn in and I was able to talk to. It was just a purple circle for now, but I promise you, later on it would become something great. Anyways, I now needed to add in collisions between the player and the NPC, but I was having a lot of trouble. Even though I used the same exact collision scripts as the level, things just weren't working out. But then I realized, I don't even need collisions, do I? You can just pass through the NPC and it's all fine. Okay, so I was quite busy today. I couldn't do much coding, but yeah, let's just start cooking Viiperrr the Chef Season 2, Episode 1. Just some odongtong ramen, instant noodles. Okay, so while we're waiting for our water to boil, I just want to say I'm actually going to be really busy tomorrow. I will have some time in like the evening. We'll just have to see what we can do. We did it. Can you see it well? Yeah, I'm just gonna eat now. I started the final day of this challenge by adding some art for the NPC. Since this game was made almost entirely with the default Scratch costumes, I just used some random costume that I found. It serves its purpose. But I realized that sometimes it would be difficult to tell the difference between the NPC and the regular level. So I added an exclamation mark that bobs up and down that shows the player that the NPC is, well, an NPC. This helped make our game feel a lot better and more professional. However, we still couldn't even interact with the NPC, so I made it so that when the player hits the spacebar, the NPC's speech is shown. But yeah, I also added this text that shows up when you touch the NPC that lets you know that you should hit the spacebar. Now I decided it was about time that I started creating my own levels for the remake of Getting Over It. However, these levels started glitching out. This made no sense to me, as the only thing that changed was the contents of the level, but I suspected that it was because of the level size, and that I needed it to be exactly 480 by 360 pixels, just like all of the other costumes. But this still didn't fix anything. I was getting frustrated and it was getting late, so I decided that I couldn't care less about the levels. I have 1 day left, bro. The next thing that I did was add in another NPC to the very beginning of the game to give you some encouragement. This basically was the same as the original NPC, so I could just reuse code and it wasn't very difficult to make. After that, I decided to add in the intro for the game. So I threw something together and kinda explained why the cat was trying to climb up to the top in the first place. And that was the completed game. I knew that I wasn't really able to add all that much to Getting Over It, and that I didn't make much of an improvement. But at the end of the day, does it matter? I had a super fun time making this game, especially. And the point of remixing projects in the first place isn't to completely rewire the entire game. It's to add cool, simple new features and make a project just that tiny bit better. So I'm satisfied with what I accomplished. But I'm not going to tell you if we succeeded going viral and getting 100 likes just yet. Hello, it's the end of day 5, and we failed. I know. Another video where Viiperrr fails. I actually especially had fun with the Getting Over It remake, because although I could not change much, I changed like 2 things. It was just fun to kind of just experiment with someone else's code and just see how other people process and how they think and how they just code in general. I think it just was a very interesting experience that I would not have gained otherwise. Don't forget to subscribe to get your 10 cents, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye. So yeah, I spent 5 days remixing games and still didn't go viral, which got me thinking, maybe I'm the problem. So I built an AI version of myself and let it try instead. Watch this video to find out what happened.